2022, I OD'd. I died.
You died? You were flatlined?
For about 15 minutes. I woke up in a bathtub of ice water, fully clothed, shoes on and everything. So I drove home, got in the shower, changed clothes, went to work, and I'm still high at work. I can still feel it at work. And when I got home, I told her, like, baby, I need some help.
Let's be honest about recovery.
The rewards, the challenges.
Let's talk about our failures.
We are flawed people, after all.
Let's challenge the stigmas that weigh us down.
Because while most of us are looked at,
Few of us are seen.
Let's talk about addiction.
And how Christ overcomes our weaknesses.
Because we are loved.
because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
We are loved.
We are
Because
loved.
we are loved.
Hi, my name is Ruben,
And my name is Mahogany.
and this is my 30-second testimony. At the age of 13, I started experimenting with drugs. I went off to college to play basketball and got injured, was prescribed prescription pills, and that kicked off my addiction for 22 years. I overdosed in 2022 and decided once I was alive, I realized I was alive, it was time to get my life together. And that is why I'm here telling my story.
Welcome back to Jesus Loves Addicts. Thanks for being here. Today we have Ruben and Mahogany Stephens, hailing from New Orleans, Louisiana. They have been together for 30 years, married 21 of those years. And also for much of that time, Ruben suffered from a opioid addiction. And so he's going to tell his story. Mahogany was by his side through all of that. And so we're blessed to have that perspective with us today, too. I think a great place to start as I look at what you sent us here, Ruben, is you have a line in here where you grew up with the knowledge of God and the sacrifices of that Jesus made for us, but you weren't living it. So you grew up in a Christian home.
I did. I did. Well, it's kind of complicated, right? So my mom was Christian, right? During that time, my dad was an atheist.
Okay.
But both of my grandmothers were heavy into church, right? So I was introduced to church from my mom and my grandmothers. So I knew about church, and I was old enough to learn the sacrifices that Jesus made. But somewhere along the lines, I lost that.
Sure.
And started living for the world, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, and that happens, doesn't it, in the Christian walk? We're not always. But that's interesting. So you had I'm using these words, you didn't, but I'm going to say a mom that was Christian. I was going to say on fire. You certainly didn't say that. I don't know if she was on fire or just what was her faith like? Was it active or?
My mom was more, I wouldn't say on fire. She was righteous.
So she was conscious of her faith.
Right. And she was conscious enough to get her kids involved in it.
Okay.
So
now, did your dad, because I think that dynamic is interesting. We see it a lot. Was your dad opposed to that? Did he?
No, that's the thing. He allowed it. Like, he never said, no, I don't want my kids doing this. I don't want my kids doing that. He allowed it.
He wasn't going to go, but he never stopped y'all from going.
Right.
Well, and he was raised by a mother in church.
Exactly.
So, okay.
I would have to have that. That's a conversation I need to have with him.
What happened?
Like, what happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know that something did.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still living?
Yes.
And still atheist?
No, that's the thing. He's not.
Oh, okay.
He's not. He believes now.
Amen.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm not going to say I had something to do with that.
I was fixing to say
but he believes now. Like, I seen my dad cry. And I've never seen my dad cry, ever.
Yeah.
And I'm 48. I seen him cry like 2 years ago for the first time ever.
So would you say it was a stable childhood? I mean, it was...
my childhood, I would not complain about my childhood. Okay. Like, I had 2-parent home, 2 incomes, brother and a sister. Like, we got along, we did things.
Where do you fall in the ages with your siblings?
My brother, who's deceased, he would be 45 right now. My sister is 36.
Okay. Were you the oldest or?
Yes, I'm the
you were
oldest.
The oldest.
So in your intro then, so a stable childhood, accommodating father, mom's living out the faith, introducing you. And then in your introduction, you mentioned that you were introduced and began to experiment with drugs at age 13.
About 13.
Now, how did that come about?
My mom and dad are gonna kill me for this, but okay. So I was 13. My little brother Ron, he was 10 at the time, and my parents and my sister were out, and it was just him and I at home. And he was like, "Hey, you want to smoke some weed?" And I'm like, "What you mean?" And he come out of his pocket with a joint. And I'm like,
so your little brother had weed, and
exactly.
you didn't know anything about it.
Exactly. So.
Okay. Well, when you were 13, I wanted to ask, had you already kind of stopped going to church with your mom? Were you at an age like she didn't force you to go?
Around 11 or 12, that started. And so I decided to smoke the joint with my brother that day.
Okay.
And we smoked the joint, and we cleaned up the house and tried to get the smell out. I don't know if they knew. They never said anything, but I'm sure they know now.
Well, they know now, but
right.
do you feel like they would have? I know some parents wouldn't have said something.
I know for a fact. See, my dad, even though he's an atheist, he believes in not sparing the rod. So I'm pretty sure if he would have known.
If they knew, he would have told you.
Exactly.
You would have known.
Exactly.
Okay.
So was he a strict disciplinarian?
He was.
Yeah.
He was. I think it was more for our own good.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's always the intent. And you received it that way?
I did. I did. It was stern, but nurturing at the same time.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I don't think they'll hate you for any of that. That sounded pretty good to me. So, so you experiment, and at 13, what is that? 8th grade? 9th grade?
I was at 13. No, I was actually in high school. I was in the 10th grade.
Oh, okay. I'm way off. So
I started school when I was 3.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I started kindergarten when I was 3. You're right.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
I sure was not in the 10th grade. At 13.
Yeah. And again, you had mentioned, so you're in high school now. There is a big part of your life that we haven't talked about. A good thing, right? What were you were into?
In high school?
Basketball?
I was what you would call an elite basketball player when I was in high school. But I didn't take it as serious as I should have. So let's rewind. I was in high school, and I started experimenting after I smoked with my brother.
Okay.
So I started smoking at school and drinking beer before school and just really not taking just really not taking it serious as I should have. And everything's always clearer in hindsight, right? So looking back, like, man, I should have went to class. You know what I mean? I shouldn't have cut this day.
Taking advantage while you could.
Exactly.
Well, and being elite, there is some ego boost to that kids don't handle well, right?
It is.
I'm going to have to ask, what is elite? Is that like all-stars with baseball or select with soccer?
Just a standout. He's being
You're
noticed.
Like really good.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I was. But like I said, I didn't.
You didn't appreciate it.
I took it for granted. I did. I didn't work out like I should have. I was out drinking and smoking when I should have been working out in the gym, and I thought, okay, I got this talent. I don't need to sharpen my iron. I can just go to the gym and knock it out. But there's somebody always working on getting better while you're sleeping.
Weren't.
Right. And I wasn't sleeping.
Like you said, while you were sleeping.
Yeah, I wasn't sleeping, though. I was drugging. And it shows.
Literally not sleeping at times, probably.
Literally, yeah.
So during your high school years, was it pretty much just, and I hate to say just, I don't like that word with this, but for lack of a better one, was it just alcohol and marijuana, or did it remain those two drugs through high school, or did you begin to dabble?
For high school, it was just marijuana and alcohol. I started to snort cocaine. I think I was like 17 or 18. It was in between. I went off to college for a year. And when I came back home for the summer, I tried cocaine for the first time that summer.
While you were off at college, were you still drinking and smoking pot?
Oh, that was the atmosphere.
Okay.
In college.
All right.
As far as I knew, like when I went to college, my mindset was freedom.
Okay.
You know, I'm at home with my parents, and I couldn't do as much as I wanted to do. But when I got to college, it's like, wait,
nobody's watching me.
I don't have anybody watching me. I'm going to do
curfew.
this. I'm going to do that. Right. So.
And what an irony. And I don't know, I'll probably be accused of using this word wrong, but you talked about when you were in college, your thing was freedom. And in college, you really engage in the greatest bondage that you've ever engaged in, right? So in college is where it all takes off. So getting to college, though, on the heels of your basketball story, you were scholarshiped because of your talent.
I
right?
was. I had a full scholarship to Bossier Parish Community College, which is in Bossier City, Louisiana. I went there for 2 years. I got another offer from Northwest Missouri State, which is in Maryville, Missouri, and I went there for a year. I played at Northwest. After the season, a couple of guys and I went to the intramural gym just to play, free play, and I wound up breaking my wrist. And I had to have surgery on my wrist, emergency surgery on my wrist. This was like maybe a month or so before school ended, before the semester ended.
Of your second year?
Of my third year.
Of your third year.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 21.
Okay.
So they sent me home. I had a cast on my arm, elbow high, and I had a prescription of Vicodin. So I got on a plane and came back to New Orleans, and I went to physical therapy twice, I think, and my pills ran out, and I tried to get another prescription. They wouldn't write me another prescription. So that's what turned me to street opioids with heroin. So.
Now, were you only ever on one prescription, or had they renewed it once or twice?
No, that was just the only one that I got.
They gave you the one.
Was that your first introduction to opiates?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you use that prescription as prescribed? Were you overusing it, or at this time you were able to maintain the prescribed
to my
use?
knowledge, as far as I can remember, I was using it
the way it said.
the way it was supposed to be used.
Just that when they were gone, you wanted more.
It was, yeah, right. And I don't think, now looking back, it probably was that, but then it was like, man, this pain is unbearable. I got to get something for it. You know what I mean? And not knowing, I could have just, take some ibuprofen or some Aleve,
800 milligrams ibuprofen actually
and
works.
fight it out. But I didn't have that knowledge back then. So
right.
Now, were you in an area where drugs were readily available? Because you said you turned and started getting them on the street.
New Orleans, East, yeah.
Okay.
It's anything flows like water.
At your doorsteps.
Right, basically.
Yeah.
So you went to the street and you mentioned heroin, but did you immediately go to heroin? You ran out of one prescription of Vicodin and you went to the street and you were on heroin.
So what I did was I had a friend on the street and I was at his house. I was like, man, I ran out of my pills.
Yeah.
And he asked me what kind of pills that I have, and I told him. And he was like, well, look, I got this. It's the same thing as that, but they don't sell it over the counter. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I trust him. He's my friend.
Yeah.
I've been knowing him for years. Okay, let me try some. And immediately, like, it stopped hurting.
Now, Ruben, did this end your basketball efforts, or were they waiting for recovery at this point? I had
another offer from Central Oklahoma University. We were living in Picayune at the time, and at this time I wasn't deep into my addiction, and I was still playing basketball. I was still good, but I had a debt at Northwest Missouri. It was like $1,200, and I had to pay that off before I can go to Oklahoma. They wouldn't release my transcript. And at the time, I didn't have the money. And it was kind of like, okay, I'll get back into it. And before I knew it, it was like, I'm doing this now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Your priorities had changed.
Big time.
To the addiction?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it went from, I'm getting up, I'm going to get me a little bit, and then I'm going throughout my day. And then it went from, I'm not getting up until I get something. You know what I mean? Like, it got bad fast.
You were sick.
Yeah.
Were you just snorting this, or had you
In the
been
beginning,
shooting?
no, in the beginning it was just, and I
snorting.
actually snorted it for about 19, 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was only shooting up for maybe a year and a half before I OD'd, yeah.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize a major podcast sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by America's Thrift Stores, your go-to option for decluttering and giving back. If you have a closet bursting at the seams or a garage that's seen better days, we've got the perfect solution for you.
That's right. America's Thrift Stores makes it easy to clear out the clutter and make a positive impact in your community. Whether you're cleaning out your wardrobe, downsizing your living space, or just looking to give back, America's Thrift Stores has you covered.
And here's the best part. You've got options. Schedule a hassle-free home pickup, drop off your items at one of their convenient donation sites, or swing by an America's Thrift Store to donate in person. No matter which way you choose, you're making a difference.
Absolutely. Every donation you make to America's Thrift Stores directly benefits charities in your area, such as the Home of Grace and other fantastic organizations dedicated to helping those in need.
For example, donations made to America's Thrift Stores in southern Mississippi help the Home of Grace provide support and assistance to individuals facing drug and alcohol addiction. Your contributions make a real impact on their mission to provide freedom from addiction through Christ-centered recovery. So not only are you decluttering your life, but you're also helping build a stronger and more supportive community.
It's truly a double blessing. So what are you waiting for? Clean out that closet, clear out that garage, and make a positive difference in your community by donating to America's Thrift Stores.
Visit America's Thrift Stores online to schedule a home pickup, locate a donation site near you, or get directions to one of their store locations.
America's Thrift Stores, where giving back never goes out of style.
Now, you said you guys have been together for 30 years. So is Mahogany, are you in the picture yet? Have you guys?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, when did you guys meet?
Yeah.
I got in the picture when he was going to college. So
like before he went, or like
Right
were you guys
Before
like
the
end of
injury?
high school sweethearts, or?
Well, not high school sweethearts, but when he was going off to college, like that summer.
That's where you guys met. Okay.
We met in June '95.
Ah, okay. Was it love at first sight?
Yeah.
We never would have thought we would be married and have kids and all that.
Yeah.
We always say that, but it definitely was.
There was something.
Yeah.
It was
Something was
definitely.
there. Yeah, but that was when I met her. That was around the time when I started dabbling with cocaine.
Okay.
But she had no idea, none of that.
So y'all did like long distance relationship while you were gone?
No.
Or you went with
Well, he was home when we started dating. He did go away to school.
Okay.
But when he came back the last time from school, it was like we was just together.
Yeah, I
At
remember.
first during school, it was just like, okay, he at school, I'm home, you know.
So it was like she knew I was leaving and I was going to be going to school. So it wasn't like we were still together in a relationship, communicating. It's like, look, I'm going for a year. You know, when I come back, I'm going to hit you up. But
Right.
you know, I'm not mad. You do your thing or whatever. But she actually moved to Texas. And I came back in May of 96.
95.
It was
No,
96.
96, yeah.
And she came back the same
I
day
came
or
back
the
2
day
days
after.
prior, not knowing he was
it
coming back.
Like, so I felt like, okay, that's...
This is meant.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And our son was conceived shortly after that.
Okay. Kind of sealed the deal there.
There
I
you
got you.
Right.
Now, Mahogany, were drugs or alcohol at all your story, or?
No, no.
Yeah. So
I just was the end of it. You know, like learning. I was learning a lot during a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't introduced to it. I come from a huge family, and it was always, don't do this, because we saw so many of our family members go from being great to what happened.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I'm going to whoop you if you do this. So we stayed away from it.
You heeded that.
And then when you got older, I'm sure it was like, no, I'm not risking that.
It was a lot.
Now, so there's a bit of an opposite attracts, maybe? Is that a piece of what's going on?
In my eyes, he was the good boy. He was the good guy.
Yeah.
I only had 2 relationships prior, but he was not into that life. He was a good boy. College student, parents still together and married. He was a good boy. I didn't expect the turn, but life was life in.
Yeah. So that was a hidden part. That was kind of a alter ego for you.
I don't
the
think
drug
he
piece.
even really knew it.
I think the things that I did, I know I didn't have to do.
Right.
Like I didn't have to get out in the street and do drugs. I didn't have to get out in the street and sell drugs. I didn't have to do none of the stuff I did. I think my addiction really got me just so deep into it that I couldn't dig myself out of it. And she was there, like to keep my hand above the dirt. You know what I mean?
Now, but was this a part of your life that you try to keep from people? Because I find it interesting that her interpretation of you is that.
So I actually kept it from her for years.
Wow,
that was gonna be my next question.
Everybody knew.
Everybody knew but me.
But her.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Everybody knew but me.
Yeah.
I told his parents, and they were like, "We know." Wait, what? Everybody knew but me.
So were you having to work?
Yeah, I was working and
it worked.
Trying to contribute as much as I could to the household without taking away from my habit. You know what I mean?
But the habit absolutely has to take priority, or you won't have anything else.
Right.
Like you say, he couldn't.
You can't get
up and do anything. He got to the point where
I wouldn't get out of
he
the
would
bed.
get up and go and be gone all day because he didn't want to see me to see him like that.
Now, were those behaviors present when you still didn't know what was going on? Like, were you just going, what's happening here?
I started to notice changes, and I try to make myself understand it. And I had heard he was doing things, but I didn't want to believe him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, no, not him.
Yeah.
No.
He would tell me.
Yeah. We two in sync.
It's a shame thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that piece and I'm really glad that you mentioned that, right? That no, couldn't be him, because the codependent, right? The enabler in somebody's life, or right? You see, but we're all like that. Both sides of the picture, we see what we want to see. And so you saw what you wanted to see. And so it is hard to get that image to change. I do have a question for you, though, because it is fascinating, one, that in this society you can, it's a sad thing to say, but that you can get through high school without being introduced to drugs and alcohol. So praise God for your family. I love that.
My mom.
But was there a time, because sometimes you will hear the partners of addicts say that they tried to use with them in an effort to control their using. Was there ever a time that you thought, am I going to do this?
I actually did that.
You did?
I did that before. I tried just like you said, it's sad to say it, but I've tried that with him thinking it was, I thank God that I wasn't, what is the word I'm looking for? Like, I don't have addictive personalities. Yeah. So I'm able to do things, try something for once and be like, oh, okay, that's not for me. So I did. Definitely felt like I'm not getting through to him as myself. Maybe if I'm on his level, maybe I can actually reach out to him some type of way.
Maybe he'll hear me.
Yeah, but that was a no.
Yeah.
So you tried heroin?
I don't know. I tried coke or something. Yeah.
She doesn't know.
What
One
would
of them
you,
things.
It's probably early for this.
It just wasn't for me, you know.
Well,
I
thank
have
God.
smoked weed.
Amen.
I have smoked weed and stuff, but like that type of stuff, it just wasn't for me. No.
What would you say to somebody considering that?
Don't do it.
That angle.
No, don't do it. It's not gonna. No, what you think you're gonna get out of it, you're not.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's not.
It doesn't change your partner.
No, it's different for everybody, and I think his situation, he was battling whatever he was battling, and no matter if I did every drug he did, it was not going to help him get better.
Yeah.
Well, and wouldn't that just compound the shame that this person that you love, that you spent this time?
Oh yeah, it's doing that right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like for me to hear that, like
for me to hear it out loud, like I know,
but to hear it is different.
But to hear it out loud, it hurts a different way.
And it's funny he asked that because I would have never thought other people do that.
Yeah.
Right. I thought I was like, okay, am I crazy?
Yeah.
There's
something wrong with me.
I would think I'm the only person in the world that would have tried it.
Yeah.
But it didn't work.
No.
Thank God.
And thank God that I'm just like my personality, like who I am.
Well, so conversely then, and I know we haven't quite gotten into the depths of this yet. It's really just kicking off for you, right?
Right.
But since I've asked that question on the other end of it, was there ever a time where you thought to yourself, this isn't going to work?
After COVID.
After COVID.
It took a long time because I felt like we could get through anything. And we did. We got through any and everything. Everything. After COVID, it was just like, okay, girl, this ain't working. You gotta, if you don't get out and save yourself, there's nothing left to save.
And so, I started to see the moves that she was making. And I didn't want to believe it, but she was actually separating herself from me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it was also hard to believe because you had been here for the whole time.
But like he explained earlier, he said he snorted for 20 years.
Right.
Yeah, like a year and a half. It graduated, and that was the out for me.
And she was like, "No, I can't no more."
That was a bridge.
That
too
was
far.
the out for me.
So when I asked that question, Ruben, you audibly sort of sighed, and like just when I said, "Was there ever a time you thought it wasn't going to work?"
Yeah, that time, COVID. I think COVID. The money that I was getting from being out of work. I didn't have anything to do with it but get high. So I graduated from snorting it to shooting it. And March 21st it was, the day before our anniversary, 2022, I OD'd. I died.
You died? You were flatlined?
I was, for about 15 minutes. I woke up in a ice tub, a bathtub of ice water, fully clothed, shoes on and everything. I got up, a couple of guys I was with, they were standing over me. I grabbed my phone and my keys off the floor, and I didn't say anything to anybody. I went outside. I sat in my car for about 15 or 20 minutes, soaking wet still. Now, I have to be to work at 3. It's 12:45, and I'm uptown in New Orleans. I have to work at Treasure Bay Casino here in Biloxi Gulfport. So I drove home, got in the shower, changed clothes, went to work. Now, I had got hit with Narcan to revive me. So I went to work, and I'm still high at work. I can still feel it at work. I worked 8 hours from 3 to 11. I got off at 11 at night, and when I got home, I told her, like, baby, I need some help. Like, I don't want to go anywhere else but to the Home of Grace. Like, can we get me in the Home of Grace?
Now, was this the first realization you had that you needed help, or were there other times?
No. This was the most recent time.
You skipped a lot.
The first time I went to the Home of Grace actually in 2008, and I graduated the program. That was more of a court appointed, I would say.
Had to be there, didn't want to be there.
Were you arrested?
No, so I was arrested for possession, right?
Okay.
But the judge didn't say, hey, you need to go to a rehab or you're going to do this amount of time. I decided I'm going to check myself in the rehab. It's going to look good in front of the judge. So
many people do that.
Right. So I got in it. I got into the program. I got some things out of the program, but I didn't live it.
Yeah.
When I graduated, I didn't live it. So,
well, your focus was the benefit to court, not getting sober.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How long did you stay sober after you left there in 2008?
In 2000, after that, it was maybe a year, 2 years.
Okay.
Before I started slipping up again, but
went back around old people.
Exactly. If you don't change your people, places, and things, the inevitable, it will happen. Like you can't.
You just want to check on them, see how they're doing.
You can't get away from it.
Yeah. Well, biblically, bad company corrupts good morals, right? So we know that that's a recipe for disaster. And it's interesting because as I heard you doing your intro, I had written down, I think you and Kathryn were talking about how you both avoid old places now. That's one of the things you do to protect your recovery. So that's interesting. Maybe we'll circle back around to that. So did you ever finish your college pursuits, or did that just completely fell by the
Yeah,
wayside?
I never went back after my third year. I never went back.
Okay.
Not for basketball. I did go back and I got a certificate for cutting hair for barbering. You know.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't. Basketball was done in '97. I was done with that.
Okay. And so, Mahogany, was it the introduction of needles for you that was just like, okay, this is getting worse, not better?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old was your child at this time?
He was grown. He's
about 23.
Oh, so he grew up through your addiction.
He did.
Well, he did. But
we
have one
from
child
him.
together. I have an older son.
We hid a lot of stuff. I tried my best once I did find out to hide anything to protect him from any of that.
Let me ask you about that. Do you think that worked? Because one of the things that, so typically kids may not know what to call what's going on, but they know something's going on. Is that kind of the issue?
Mm-hmm.
And how did that play out for him?
Or did he ever confront it and say something?
Well, he went to jail for 2 years when our son was 11. And that was a transition for our son. I think he was mad because he's always had his dad.
Yeah.
And when he went to jail, he just started to hang around other people at school and get smoking weed. And, so he started to just, I think he started I want to say 13, he started hanging around them and doing different smoking weed. But,
like his dad did.
Like his dad did.
Exactly.
And, but for the most part, he's not, I don't want to say he won't graduate to the next level. I don't want to say that. But I want to say he is more focused now and aware of the situation. He knew what he went through. And he has his own children. He has two daughters now. So now his focus is, I got to be a good dad. So that helped him. Now he doesn't have friends. He doesn't hang with guys. He just go to work and he's with his daughters. So I think that the girls saved him from taking an extra path that he, because he knew what was going on.
I would say that your recovery would have made an impact.
That's what I was about to say. I think
and having a baby, the granddaughter,
me go through what I went through and putting his mom through what I did, and then I had a conversation with him.
Okay.
Like a man-to-man conversation. Like, look, bro, this is what's going on, and he's pretty much like, I know. But I'm like, look, I feel like I need to tell you this out loud, out my own mouth.
I need to confess.
Right, so this is what's going on. I'm going to do this about it. And he listened, he took it in, but he gave me like, I hear you, but I'll believe you when I see you. Look, so, and I kind of think that's what's driving him
to be better
from watching my struggles. And another thing, like, she said I was always there. I was. Even though I was in my addiction, I was always there. Football games, basketball games, whatever he had going on, my other son, to my older son, whatever they had going on.
You were there.
I was there. Doctor's appointments, any of that, I was there. So I didn't want to give them, okay, so my dad was a police officer for New Orleans Police Department for 33 years, I believe. So he was always at work, always at work. He was the provider. He was always at work, and he was a disciplinary. But I was into basketball real heavy when I was young. And my dad never came to any of my games. So I said to myself, when I have kids, I'm going to be at anything they have. I don't care if it's a debate. I'm going to be there. Right. Nothing against my dad, but that's just a lesson.
You.
Like, right. So, and I feel like my son watched my situation and kind of did the same thing.
Yeah. What do you think you lost out on based on that relationship with your dad?
Guidance, I would say, because I don't have an older brother or older siblings, older cousins.
We're the older.
So, right. So it's kind of like I had to go out there and like figure it out for myself.
Sure.
Because dad was always at work. I'm not blaming my dad because he had to work. We had to pay the bills. But I think it would have been a little bit better if not even
present.
Yeah, not even just coming to the games. Just I don't know,
being involved in the process.
Right.
But he was not.
They actually came. Him and my mom. They actually came to one of my games when I was in college, my freshman year. They came. We played Delgado, and they came to the game at Delgado, and that I was so happy. I was so proud. I think I scored like 19 or 21 points that game.
Look out there and see both your parents.
Right, right. So it did something to me. So
I was missing that for your kids,
right? And I made sure that if I didn't do anything else, I wanted to be present.
Right.
So was there an effort on your part growing up to get Dad's attention? Or was there a conscious kind of?
It may have been unconscious, but I can remember him sitting on the recliner watching the news or something, and I'm outside shooting on the basketball, and I'll run inside. Dad, come shoot with me. Oh, I'm tired, stuff like that. And I remember one time we did go. They had a gym at the precinct, and he took me to the gym, and we played basketball. Like I remember that, and I may have been 11, 12. I still remember that. Like,
so those moments are highlights.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So do you think it would be fair to say, just trying to kind of look at the fullness of this, so you have made an effort to be physically there for your kids' stuff, but would it be fair to say that in your addiction, you may not have always been mentally and emotionally there the way that you would like to have been?
Oh, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. It was, now looking back, it was like in my mind, I'm there, I'm cheering them on, so I'm doing my part, right? But really, if I'm there and I'm sober and I'm clear-headed, I could have done so much more.
Right.
And I actually beat myself up sometimes because my youngest son, he was just as good or maybe better than I was in basketball. And I had the opportunities and the know-how to promote him.
To help him.
Right, to get him scholarships, to, put him in different programs, send him to different camps. But I was so deep in my addiction, it was not that priority for me.
Do you think it's kind of like, because you wanted to make sure that you showed up, even if you weren't all the way there, so showing up then was more of I have to do this because I said that I would show up because, my dad worked so much, he couldn't always show up. But now today, like with grandkids and the relationship you have with your children, that more these are things you get to do, not have to do.
Right.
Is that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's more now, I think, a privilege.
Yes. It's
you know what
something
I mean? Like,
I get to have.
Then it was like, I gotta do this.
Got to check a box.
Right.
I have to make sure I do this. Yeah.
Right. And now it's like, hey, the grandkids are coming over. Yeah. So and
y'all do not look like grandparents. I just want to say that.
A different,
like, at all.
That's true. A different level of happiness. So I don't want to waste having your wife's perspective here. And I did notice that when I asked the question about whether or not he was seeking Dad's approval, you had a reaction to that. Was that something you saw?
Yeah, he always seeks his dad approval. Everything he does. Okay. He's gotten better with it. But over the years, yeah, it was, I think he literally just wanted approval. And like today, his dad is great. He always tell him, I'm proud of you, son. I love you. Like, Mookie, I'm proud of you. That's my nickname, Mookie. Mookie, like,
okay.
He always tell me, I'm proud of you. Thank you. He lets him know now, but back in the day, he definitely was seeking that. Yeah. Dad, do you see me?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And I was really just looking for that attaboy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he gets it now.
I get it. I get very of it now.
He gets it now.
Yeah,
it took him a while, but
and I love it.
He gets it.
I love it.
Where was the turnaround?
I honestly don't know. Like, I went to...
You said where was the turnaround?
Right, with my dad.
I think you getting sick. That was a huge...
No, I think it was
a little before that. When you came home from jail. He actually reached out, remember?
Yeah.
Is this when your son was...
starting to act out?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said 11 to 13 or
So
something?
yeah, about 13
When you were
Dante
there.
was
Yes,
13.
I was locked up around that
For
time.
how long?
For 2 years.
2 years.
And what was that for?
For possession of heroin.
Okay.
Well,
And
actually, I was on probation for
Yeah.
possession of heroin, and I got pulled over, stopped in Slidell, and got charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon.
Okay.
So I
So you had to do mandatory.
got 5 years for that.
But he
2
did
years.
Yeah.
2 on a Okay.
And I think after he came home from that, that's when things got better with your dad.
When my uncle died, my mother's youngest brother, he died, and we went to the funeral, and my parents were already in the church, and we walked in the church, and my dad saw me. That's the first time I saw my dad cry. He saw me, he was crying, he hugged me and held me so tight, and that was the moment. Like I knew, and he said, "Thank God." My daddy said that. This man was an atheist when I was growing up. So what happened?
What'd that do for you?
Chills with his doing
Right now. Right now, yeah. And we've become more closer than we could ever be. Like me and my dad, like, yeah. I love it.
Yeah, that's neat. And your son, do you have a good relationship with him? I'm assuming there was some...
I have 2 sons. My oldest son is 30. His name is Ruben. He's the third.
Okay.
He lives in Maryland. We don't talk as much as I would like to, but because he's giving me signs of things that I was doing when I was in my addiction, and I would try to avoid family. The only time I would call somebody is when I needed some money or something. So he's kind of doing those things now. And
So you're worried that he's caught in it?
I'm worried about him because he's not a street guy like I was. He wouldn't go in the streets, but he's into bodybuilding and weightlifting, and there's steroids in there.
Yeah.
So I worry about that. So when I do get a chance to speak to him, I always kind of throw that in there. You good, you're not juicing or nothing like that,
You take your chances to
Well,
speak
and
life into him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I feel like that's
opiates
something
float around those circles
I'm obligated
too.
to.
They do.
Yeah, because of the pain involved. And so, yeah, that's...
He's gotten into that weightlifting a lot.
He's really into it. Like,
I mean, it's good that he's doing something like weightlifting, but to the extent that I think he's doing it, I think he's obsessed with weightlifting.
Well, it can be an indicator.
He's doing it a lot.
That can actually be his addiction.
He stays away. He doesn't come home. He hasn't been home in
years.
Yeah. He stays away.
Yeah.
He doesn't, and not just with us, with his mom.
With his mom, yeah.
With my in-laws.
My parents, right.
Like, this is a circle.
And that's what
now,
makes
was he
me
the
think,
one that was 11 to 13?
No,
when you were
that was my
That's
youngest
their
son.
A little,
That's your,
old.
okay.
Yeah.
He was 16 when he went to jail. The oldest one went to live with my in-laws.
Okay.
Yeah, he went and stayed with my parents.
So it was just me and our son at home.
I gotcha.
So does Ruben interact with your parents, especially
Used
if he
to.
lived with them?
He used
He
to have a great relationship.
had a wonderful relationship with them. Like, I don't know, over the years, and I think they still have that relationship, but he's not reaching out. Like, he's not communicating. It's like...
And that's those red flags for you because you know.
Exactly. So I'm trying to tell them to be aware of that. Don't back him in the corner because you're going to get on the defensive. But try to ease it out. I'm like, I might shoot a joke at him like, boy, you ain't out there juicing, is you?
Yeah.
Just for him to get the reaction. And the reaction he gives me now, I know. Because I used to do that. Right. But so far, so good. I'll say that.
Okay.
Good.
Before we go any further, let's take a minute to address the man or the woman listening to today's episode and wishing for a better life. Or maybe addiction has completely overtaken a family member or a friend.
You are not alone. As you may know, the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast is produced by the Home of Grace, a Christ-centered addiction recovery program in South Mississippi with over 60 years of experience.
The Home of Grace has residential programs ranging from 30 days to 12 months. With 2 separate campuses for men and women, they are fully staffed with caring individuals who want nothing more than to guide you to a life of recovery.
Services include individual and group counseling, marriage and family counseling, classes, workshops, GED, and workforce training, all grounded in biblical principles.
And because of donations from the community, the cost of the program is incredibly affordable.
Thousands of alumni from across the country can tell you there is no other program in the world quite like the Home of Grace.
If you want to start a new path to recovery, don't wait. Speak with an admission specialist today. Visit homeofgrace.org or call 833-55-GRACE to talk with someone.
That's 833-55-GRACE. Call the Home of Grace today. Let's do a quick spiritual check-in at this, going back to your addiction yet, because I know there's pretty significant illness that happens and things like that, right? So I know
Yes.
when I don't want to miss that. But you're raised in a quote-unquote split home, but you're introduced to God. You know him, as you said in your introduction, know about him, all that stuff. Where has he been? Not literally, but in your mind, where has he been through this journey thus far? Has there been any attention on your part to God in my life, or is he completely on a shelf somewhere and we're not really in consideration at this point?
On my end,
Praise and worship every morning.
So that's now.
Praise and worship
that's
every
now.
morning.
But going through that, I had shelved God.
Shelved him, okay.
I always knew he was there, but I just felt like it wasn't that time right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that if I came to the Home of Grace in 2008, right, and I thought was me getting my life right.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all me deceiving God. You can't deceive God. He knows all. So
was there a
when
bargain going on, God, if you do this, I'll do this?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. But you can't win.
Yeah.
You can't win those bargains. So it's like, okay, I got out, I'm doing what I think is right. But it also says if you do that, if you deny God, like he's gonna punish you like sevenfold or tenfold. Like, so what I went through the first time compared to what I went through in 2022 was like nothing. Like, so it's like you have this knowledge, but you're not using this knowledge right. So I'm going to sit you down, I'm going to punish you again. And each time it's going to get worse. And I'm now seeing that, like, wow. When I came in the Home of Grace the second time, I was 133 pounds. I'm 6'7". I was just walking, skin and bones, barely could walk. So, like, I've learned, if you want to do something with your life, in your life, for someone else, you can't do any of that without God. Any of that.
So 2008 was the one where you came to kind of satisfy or hope to get a court benefit.
Right.
So that gives you about a 2-year sobriety. How do you fall back into your addiction?
Not changing.
Oh, went back to people, places, and things.
Right.
Okay. And then
So
that starts off how many more years of use?
That started off from... Actually, I went to prison right as I started slipping. So it's like he seen it.
And kept you from
like, hey, what are you doing? Okay, I'm going to sit you down.
time out.
Okay, right, right. So when I come home from the second time out, it's like, all right, God, appreciate that. I'm going to go do this now.
Right back into it?
Yeah.
Right. So he's like, all right, I really have to do something with you now. And he...
let you experience.
I feel like he brought me home, said, hey, I don't like what you're doing out there. I have you there for a reason.
Yeah.
Go back and walk your walk. And I feel like that's why I'm here.
And from your overdose in 2020.
Right. Because I could have easily not waking up.
Did you even realize you had been Narcaned?
No.
But you knew you had overdosed when you woke up in a tub
And I
full
was
of
in a
ice
tub
water.
of ice water. That's what made me realize it. I didn't know about the Narcan until maybe a couple of hours. One of the guys texted me. He was like, hey, you good? I'm like, I'm at work. He was like, man, I had to hit you with Narcan. I'm like, Oh, wow. So that's how I knew I was gone for like 15 minutes.
So, Ruben, coming then out of prison, right? So the people, places, and things got you back into it that first time. There was, and then you go to prison as that slip starts. Coming out, does that then take us? Does that run last until that 2022 where you finally? It does. Okay, so that's going to finish that line. Well, then let me take us back, because I know you had mentioned something off camera. There was a pretty significant event in your life in 2002.
Right.
And can you talk about that?
My brother, Ryan, was murdered. It was a contract killing. He was deep, way deeper in the streets than I was. And
this was the middle sibling?
This is my younger brother, who was the middle, right? After that, like, I went off the deep end. Like, I became him in a sense. Like, so there was things that I was doing that wasn't characteristic of myself.
Right.
Did you become more involved in that underworld activity? I did. And it wasn't normally something that I would have been doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like, and it's not, I don't want to say kind of, I felt like I was filling a void.
Right.
And then the addiction got stronger. Like, so I was doing more and more heroin.
You had to.
Trying to ease the pain and fill that void. And I'm doing crazy, outlandish stuff in the streets that's not in my character.
Are you working for somebody? I mean, I know you said there weren't gangs in New Orleans at that time when we were talking, but is there a hierarchy of some sort? Is there organization to what's happening? I mean, in any city, metropolitan area, there's always a hierarchy. Okay. And just like with government, you have the mayor that runs the city, right? So you have a mayor of the streets, somebody you have to answer to. So I wasn't on somebody's payroll. I was more like a vigilante.
Okay.
Just doing my own thing, and me and my guys doing our own thing. It wasn't like we got rival gangs, we're going to ride on these guys. No, it wasn't like that.
Like we see on TV and things like that. Like, no, it wasn't like that.
It was nothing like that, no.
You mentioned the pain, and I think that's something to focus on just for a second, and just that this all started because of the physical pain.
Right.
But that emotional pain after losing your brother, and that void had nothing on that. And there really wasn't enough to do.
No, it
wasn't going to fix it.
No. And I filled it, I would say, with peace.
Today. Okay.
Today,
currently.
Now, that void has been filled with the peace that you can't pay for.
Yeah.
You can't buy that off the streets. Like, and
peace that surpasses all understanding.
Right.
And it doesn't run out.
No. And mine's just getting started. So I am loving it. We are loving it. Yeah.
Amen. That is a hard story to take a right turn from, but I appreciate you sharing that. And it is interesting how you say you kind of became him, right? I think there's probably lots involved there, but for somebody, what?
I'm sorry, it'll be in a book.
Yeah.
Oh, are you writing a book?
Yeah.
I am.
And I think to say with that, touching bases on what you said, it was hard losing his brother.
Sure.
But that wasn't the hardest part. For me, looking at him, I think the hardest part was actually seeing him deceased on the ground for so many hours before they even picked his body up. So he was there on the scene. He got to visualize this, and it's sinking in.
I still have that image in my head.
And you can't unsee what you've seen.
Right.
No. So I think that played a major role into his situation.
Who I became after that, right?
Because, I mean, we lose family members, but that's one thing. But seeing it, you can't unsee that.
Yeah, I tried to unsee it. I mean, I tried to cover it up. You can't. I still see that image today.
So what do you do with it?
Now, I understand it now. Like, I understand it now. Like, now I know what kind of life he lived.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of, if you get into that lifestyle, you live by the gun, you die by the gun, right?
There are consequences.
I didn't want to hear that. That's my brother. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now I understand, okay, bro was really deep in the game. So not saying that's what he's going to get. Not saying that's something he deserved. Nobody deserves that.
No.
But it's an understanding you have when you jump off the porch. You know that's a possibility, always at any given time. And he knew that. He understood that, but I didn't. That's my brother, my little brother.
Yeah. So, and you're hitting on a kind of a key ingredient to healthy recovery, which is a term that certainly bullseye on this one, but acceptance, right? We have
acceptance is the key to all my problems.
Yeah. So you have grief that gets coupled with denial, and then we get stuck there, or you have grief that gets coupled with acceptance, and then we can move on. It doesn't mean that, like you said, that image is still there, but it's not crippling you anymore. Right.
You didn't die with him.
Yeah. Right. And I felt like I did.
Yeah. Well, I would say that you wanted to for a little while.
I tried to, actually, for a little while.
But you didn't.
Yeah, right. Thank God.
What was that period like for you, Mahogany? Was this the time? No, that was after the COVID. So this was not the time that you were thinking about leaving. It must have been a difficult.
No, I wasn't thinking about leaving at that time. But when he spiraled, after that, not long after his brother passed away, he spiraled really bad. And I knew, okay, we have a 5-year-old. So I have two options: to stay and just figure it out, or leave.
Yeah.
So I told him, I was like, I can't live like this. I'm going to Atlanta. This is a time. This is a date. I'm leaving. You either there or you're not. Whatever you decide to do is on you. And he was there.
I remember that day.
And when we were leaving, we caught the bus to Atlanta. And when we're leaving New Orleans, as we leaving, we made it to about Slidell. And he said, we're never moving back again. And we have not moved back.
What year was that?
2003.
Okay. And so, but you still ended up going to prison in 2008.
He did. I did. After Katrina, we moved from Atlanta and came to Mississippi to help my mom and them after Katrina. And as much as I didn't want to come back, even though it wasn't in New Orleans, it was too close.
Yeah.
And he was doing amazing in Atlanta. But when we moved back after Katrina, it was too close to home. So he was just jumping on the highway.
Yeah. It was
going
way
to
too
visit.
close.
Yeah.
Was the time in Atlanta relatively, drug problem free? I mean,
it was a new life in the beginning.
Were you using there?
I was smoking weed.
Okay.
In 2003.
But you had kicked the heroin for a little while.
Yeah, but not really.
Okay.
So it was like, she was like, look, I'm leaving. I'm taking my baby. We going to Atlanta. Either you coming or you're not. And during that time was from 2002, July to...
No, that was 2003.
No, I know, but from the time Ryan died was July 2002 to August 2003.
Yep.
I think I had broke every commandment there is. And she was like, look, you're going to stay here and you're going to do what you're doing here, or you're going to come with me and my son. We going to Atlanta. So I was like, man, I'm going. I got way too much going on here. I'm going. So we got on the bus, like she said, $400 cash and a garbage bag of clothes. And we went to Atlanta, and the first 2.5 years were beautiful until Katrina hit.
Yeah.
So when Katrina hit, a lot of the guys that I was running with came to Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
They relocated to Atlanta. And that started it again. So she saw it. She's like, nah, we got to go. Then her mom called, and, we moved back to Picayune to help her mom out after the storm. And Picayune is like 30 minutes, maybe 25 minutes from New Orleans. So it was easy for me to get on the highway and, continue what I was doing.
So for those first 2.5 years in Atlanta, it's not that you were clean, but you were again, here's that word I hate, just using marijuana at the time. And then these guys. Now, here's a question. How did you know these guys moved to Atlanta? Were you staying in touch with them?
Family, some family.
From
some were family.
Okay, one of them was my cousin.
Okay.
He's deceased now, but it started with him, and then I still had contact with some of the guys from home. So they called my phone.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm in Atlanta, and we meet up. And
I gotcha.
And that was all.
That was it. Yeah.
And you said your cousin was deceased now. Is that drug related?
Yeah, it actually was.
Yeah. Okay. So you moved back to Picayune. And
2006.
In 2006. Okay. So take us, for the sake of time, take us to what preceded your final treatment. What happened? There's some significant.
You mean the time now, 22?
Yeah, the final treatment where this really took off for you.
You went to prison 2008, and then
I came home in
did the same.
2012. No, I went to prison in 2010.
10. Got out in 12.
Got out in 12. When I got out in 12, I went right back to it, basically.
Picked up right where you left off.
Right.
And that brought us to 2022.
March 21st of 22 was the day I OD'd.
So it was the
COVID
OD.
hit in 2020.
Right.
And you had the money.
And the first 2 months of COVID was great. But that third month, it was like, okay, I'm still getting this money in. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Are you in Picayune at this time?
No, we're in Waveland.
No, we had moved to Waveland.
We moved to Waveland in 2016.
Okay, still Mississippi.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 20 minutes difference.
Okay.
But it just, COVID just, we all worked at the casino, so we're getting money they're paying us.
Right.
We paying bills and this and that, but
you had plenty left.
He had way too much money on his hand. We couldn't go anywhere, so we couldn't take any trips or anything. But the money, he just chose to do him and led to this downfall, and it got pretty bad.
That's when I started shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Around 2020, around COVID. During
now,
COVID.
are you still in the mix of old company? This is new company?
What you mean this time now? These are the same guys.
Same.
Oh, they are the same
company
guys. So
that
you're still in the okay.
Right. So 2020, I started shooting in maybe like the summer of 2020, and then March, like I said, March 21st was the day I OD'd.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I went to work. I can't believe I worked an 8-hour shift in the kitchen. And I can feel it on me, like I was so high. But in my mind, I knew when I get off of work tonight, I'm going to get some help. I kept telling myself that, like, I'm going to get some help. Like, because I wasn't supposed to be working. I was supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I got home, I explained everything to her, and she called the Home of Grace, and we spoke to Ross. and Ross got me in here.
Now, you came, and there was something going on with you health-wise, right?
Yes. And I had no idea. I had no idea. So what happened was I was here in the program at the Home of Grace for 6 weeks. So I was halfway through with my program. And one particular day we were out sitting, me and some of the guys sitting at the smoke deck, and they were sitting there talking and smoking, and I realized after about 10 minutes that I had a cigarette and a lighter in my hand, but I had never lit it. And it was hard for me to breathe. So I asked one of the guys to come up here and hey, I need to go to the emergency room. I can't breathe. So they took me to the ER in Ocean Springs, Singing River. They told me that I had pneumonia at first. She was at work. So I gave the nurse her number. Hey, can you call my wife and let her know what's going on with me?
Right.
Well, I want to say about 8 o'clock that night, a doctor came in. He was like, look, we're setting up a room for you upstairs. And I'm like, upstairs? What do you mean? I'll be gone in a couple of days, right? He was like, no, we got to keep you. You have congestive heart failure. And I'm looking at him like, explain that to me, like, what's going on? So he was like, well, one of your heart valves is infected and the other one is leaking. So we have to have emergency surgery to go in, replace one, and repair the other one. And I'm like, man, where's my wife? Where's my wife? They had already called her, and she was at work still, but on her way, you know. So she got there.
Now, was that infection caused by the intravenous drug use? Is that?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a doctor to diagnose it, but I would think so because I didn't have that problem before.
It wasn't anywhere else.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Most likely culprit.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And the doctor, the surgeon actually, he came in like a week before we did the surgery. I had to do antibiotics for 24 hours. And he was telling me that, you know, I had told him about my intravenous drug use and stuff. And he was like, look, I'm going to be straightforward with you. If you have any intentions of going back and using, let me know, and I won't do your surgery. He said, but if you're going to get on the straight and narrow, I can do your surgery. I'm going to do your surgery regardless. But if you decide to go back out and it happens again and you have to come back in here, I'm not going to do it again. And I looked at him and I respected that.
Yeah.
But I wanted him to respect the thing that I was about to say. Like, Doc, I am done. I am done. I will never, ever, ever put any poison in my body again. And he's looking at me like, okay, I heard that before.
Yeah.
But you knew.
And here we are.
Yeah. And that was it for you.
Yeah.
Now, how long were you in the hospital? Because you never did return to
40
treatment.
long days.
40 days.
40 days.
40 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, wow.
Basically, kind of finished the program in the hospital.
Yeah.
That's,
They might should have given him a certificate.
40 days.
yeah.
I like to thank Stephen. Like, Stephen was my counselor when I was there. Like, Stephen came to the hospital. Like, he called and checked on me. Like, I'm sorry I didn't want to
that's
get
awesome.
on topic, but I wanted to say thank you to Stephen, man. Like,
That's
make
awesome.
amends to who we need to make amends with, and we can always extend gratitude to who we need to extend gratitude to. So that's good.
Those are those people that make an impact. And
Yeah.
you'll
Right.
never forget them 10 years,
Right.
15 years from now.
Amen.
that's true. That is so true.
Now,
Like
what
Martin
happened
Brett.
spiritually in that visit, this last visit to Home of Grace? Was there a transformation there for you?
Yeah, I think that started happening even before I got here. Like, that night when I was talking to her, like, I think it was happening then.
A surrender.
Right, right. Because I knew in my mind and in my heart of hearts, like, I knew I was done. There was nothing or nobody that can make me go back that way. Like, I'm done. So now I have to get my spirit man up
Yeah.
to keep going. So that's what made me tell her, look, I don't want to go. I need help. I know that, but I don't want to go to just any place. I want to go to the Home of Grace. Like, yeah, because I know. I feel like the Home of Grace is anointed, the land that it's on, like. And I got something, like I said, I got something out of the program the first time around.
Seeds were planted.
Right. So I had to feed those seeds, like.
Yeah.
So they're growing now and flourishing. So I'm.
So you feel like you reconnected, you took God off the shelf?
Oh, he's definitely in my heart. Like, everywhere I go, it's no more
In your
shelving.
newly repaired heart.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In many ways.
Well, I keep thinking
Literally.
of waking up in that ice cold water, and that was literally the start of you waking up. You just had to wait
I never
8 hours
looked at
for
it
the
like that. Right, for the drugs
the
to wear
shifts
off.
and the high to wear off, but you were awake.
Revelation.
Good stuff.
And he died again.
Yeah. Now you can
In
tell
front of
that
my
story.
face.
Yeah, you can,
Good Lord.
I wasn't conscious for that, but she told me I coded on the table twice.
Yeah.
While in the hospital. Yeah, that's scary. So what else has changed in brief, right? Because those other times it was going back to old people, places, things, all those things. So how are you protecting your recovery, your recovery at this point? What do you do?
It's not just one thing. It's kind of a routine, but it works. So what I do is I keep my circle so small that it's a period. Literally.
I like that. I like it.
We praise and worship every morning. Before I go to work, she goes to work after me. But when I get up, she's up with me. We're praising and worshiping as I'm getting ready for work. Like I'm not ashamed of my God. So if I feel like somebody needs to hear about him,
They're going to hear about it.
right. I'm not going to force him on you. But hey, I see you in a bad spot. I feel like you need to hear this.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it works immediately. Sometimes you don't see it work until later. But as long as it works, I feel like that's my purpose.
Yeah. You were obedient in that.
Yes, I have to be. Because I know where disobedience takes you.
Yeah.
You've been there.
Yeah, right.
Staying connected to God, praise and worship, and then giving back is what I'm hearing, right? It's really strong tools to maintain recovery, right?
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, again, I mention this semi-often just because I think most of the using and recovery world is familiar with it. The 12 steps is not the only way, but they're extremely biblical. But the thing I was going to say is that the 12th step is giving back, right? We have 1 through 11 about creating solid ground for us. And of course, one of those, I think it's step 10, is about maintaining contact. That's your praise and worship, right? And then obviously comes 12, which is now we share the message and give back. So lots of strong biblical thing. And I love, so there's the difference, right? You're not going back to the, what does it say? Sometimes the pig returns to its slop, right?
Yeah.
And so this time you've said no. And
I'm a clean pig.
Amen. I'll share that title with you. I like that.
I like it.
Guys, thank you so much
Thank y'all.
for being here.
Thank y'all for having us.
Yeah.
Amen.
It was a pleasure and an honor.
Awesome story.
Well, for us. So what a powerful story. Mahogany, thank you for being here and giving us your perspective of that. It's so important, right? And as always, guys, I just really hope that what you see in this, right, when we talk about and dive into the darkness of people's stories, that's not where you get stuck. What we're hoping for is that when you see how far things can get, you also realize that they can never get beyond God's reach.
Yes.
That's the point. And so please find hope in this. I know I do every week. And again, stop by JesusLovesAddicts.com, say hello, leave comments, ask questions, give us your story. We'd love to hear from you. And thanks so much. We'll see you next week.